The whisper came from a file that didn't exist. Ilara's eyes narrowed at the flickering holoscreen. The coordinates pulsed in a language no one in the galaxy should remember. And yet she could read it. Earth. The whisper came from a file that didn't exist. Commander Ilara Miles froze mid-keystroke, her eyes narrowing at the flickering holoscreen. The packet of data pulsed in the archives system like a heartbeat, unregistered, unsourced, but very much alive. She should have ignored it. Anything untagged in the Verath archives was either a trap or a ghost file, both of which could end careers. But the coordinates flashing across the display were in a language that no one in the galaxy should be able to read. A language she knew by heart. English. Her pulse kicked. The labels were crude, ancient. Sol, Terra, and, most impossibly, Keystone. The rest formed a star map, inked in patterns that predated the Concorde's unified NAV code by several millennia. She leaned closer. "How the hell?" she whispered. The archival chamber was quiet except for the steady hum of the planetary data core deep below. Hundreds of alien researchers sat in curved alcoves across the vast chamber, eyes fixed on glowing glyphs, their movements silent but purposeful. High above, banners of the Verath Keepers swayed gently in climate-controlled air. And somewhere in that silence, boots clicked against the polished obsidian floor. Ilara's head jerked up. 3 Verath guards in ceremonial armor were making their way between the workstations. She thumbed the screen off in one motion, embedding the file into the secure partition of her neural implant. The guards' amber eyes swept the rows, their expressions neutral but far from relaxed. Verath never patrolled in 2s, let alone 3s, unless they suspected a breach. She kept her breathing steady. To anyone watching, she was just another human observer, one of a dozen Earth representatives given, limited, access to the galaxy's greatest storehouse of history. The unspoken truth was that humanity's role was ceremonial. They were here to watch, not to touch. A shadow passed over her desk. "Ilara Miles." The voice was soft, almost polite, but the weight in it was unmistakable. She looked up into the pale, angular face of arch-historian Zorith Vex. His tall frame seemed carved from bone, draped in the gold-threaded robes of his station. His eyes were unreadable pools of burnished copper. "Sir?" she said, dipping her head just enough to be respectful without groveling. Zorith glanced at her blank terminal, then at the innocuous stack of research chips beside it. "You have been reviewing Concorde naval records, I presume?" "Yes. Cross-referencing human colonial logs with the Caraxes engagement," she said evenly. He hummed, a faint, metallic vibration. "A small matter. The Caraxes war is, well documented. Well documented," in Verath terms meant edited, sanitized, and rewritten until the truth no longer resembled itself. Zorith's gaze lingered a fraction longer before he nodded. "See that you keep your inquiries within your clearance level. The past is a delicate thing. Not all species can bear its full weight." Her jaw tightened, but she forced a smile. "Understood." He moved on, his robes whispering over the floor. The guards followed. Only when their footsteps faded did she let out the breath she'd been holding. Her fingers twitched with the need to open the file again, but doing so here would be suicide. Verath systems flagged anomalies instantly, and she'd already danced too close to the edge. Instead, she closed down her console, slid the research chips into her satchel, and headed for the exit. The archive's exterior was a gleaming fortress of crystal and alloy, its spires catching the dim light of Veritha's sun. Ilara stepped into the cool shade of the skyway, blending with a stream of scholars, envoys, and data clerks. Beyond the safety rail, the city unfurled in tiers of white stone and green gardens, a deliberate display of the Veritha's claim to being the galaxy's oldest continuous civilization. Her implant pinged once, an encrypted pulse confirming the ghost file's full transfer. It was now buried deep in her own wetware, untraceable unless someone cut into her skull. She quickened her pace. Back at her assigned quarters, she locked the door, activated a signal dampener, and pulled the file into her vision feed. The star map unfolded in 3 dimensions, a constellation of ancient markers drifting in black space. Every coordinate, Every annotation was in Old Earth languages, English, Latin, a few in Greek. This was impossible. The Concord's historians claimed humans had no interstellar contact before 2067, and yet these markers extended far beyond Sol, even into systems charted only in the last 2 centuries. She expanded the largest label, Keystone. The text beneath it was partly corrupted, but she could make out fragments: protocol initiates upon recognition of primary genetic key, failsafe in case of galactic destabilization. Her mouth went dry. This wasn't just history. It was a set of instructions. A soft chime broke her concentration. A secure message, but not on any channel she recognized. The sender's ID read Watcher. She opened it. You have something that doesn't belong to them. Do not access it in system range. They are already looking. Her pulse spiked. They could only mean the Varath keepers. She glanced at the window, sky still calm, no patrol ships in view, but that meant nothing. Zoratha's reach was measured in networks, not distance. Another line appeared. If you want the truth, meet me in the lower hangar. Bay 6. 2 hours. Come alone. Elara considered deleting it. Walking into an anonymous meeting in Varath territory was suicide. But the alternative was sitting here waiting for Zorath to quietly disappear her. Her implant buzzed again, this time a system-wide alert: security anomaly detected in archival subnet. All terminals under review. She didn't need to guess whose terminal would be first in line. Damn, she muttered, already grabbing her coat. If the Watcher was real, they might be her only way out alive. 2 decks below the archives, the lower hangar smelled faintly of ozone and coolant. Maintenance drones flitted between dock shuttles, and the air hummed with the low throb of reactor cores idling. Bay 6 was dark, its bulkhead door half lowered as if undergoing repairs. Elara slipped inside. A shadow detached itself from the corner, a lean, insectoid figure with translucent wings folded tight against its back. Its chitin glimmered faintly under the emergency lights. You're early, it said in accented standard. Depends who's asking. The alien tilted its head. Name's Rin Talvek. I curate certain files the keepers prefer to lose. I saw you trip their net. You have something old. Something dangerous. She kept her tone cool. Dangerous to who? To them, Rin said, wings shivering. And to the Council's illusion of stability. What you found, it's not just a map. It's a recall signal. And it's tied to your species in ways you don't yet understand. Before she could reply, her implant flared with a proximity alert. Varath guards, 6 of them, were moving fast down the hangar corridor. Rin's eyes widened. They've found you. Elara's hand went to the pulse sidearm hidden in her coat. Zoratha's voice boomed over the hangar comms, smooth and cold. Commander Miles, you've accessed restricted material. Surrender now, and I will be merciful. Her grip tightened. In her mind's eye, the star map pulsed again, its coordinates burning like a brand. Mercy wasn't on her agenda. She darted for the nearest shuttle. The shuttle's inertial dampeners whined as Elara slammed it into a sharp climb, weaving between cargo haulers drifting in the outer bay. Plasma bolts lit the hangar mouth in brief, searing flashes. Varath guards weren't usually this sloppy, which meant Zorath had given one order: stop her at all costs. Rin clung to the co-pilot's seat, his delicate fingers dancing over a portable decryption array. You have to keep us in stealth range for the next 30 minutes, he said, mandibles clicking with stress. If their long-range scanners get a fix, this whole conversation never happens. Elara shot him a sideways look. Then start talking faster. He angled the array so she could see the layered star map. The labels aren't just coordinates. They're timestamps, thousands of years old. And these markers, he tapped a cluster, aren't just random systems. They're the exact locations of the 7 Keystone vaults. Each vault holds a fragment of what your species once built. My species? She asked, forcing the shuttle into a dive that made Rin's wings twitch in protest. Yes. Humans. You were different back then. More advanced than you are now. And you fought in the first Silence War. You didn't just survive, you ended it. Elara barked a humorless laugh. That's impossible. Humans didn't reach the stars until your history says you did. Rin finished for her. That's the thing about history. In the wrong hands, it becomes whatever someone wants it to be. Her knuckles whitened on the controls. The more Rin spoke, the more the file in her implant burned like an ember, daring her to believe it. Far above them, on the topmost spire of the archives, Zorath Vex stood before the Concord's secure hollow assembly. 12 counselors, each representing a major species, watched from their respective worlds. The human operative has accessed level Omega materials, Zora said, his tone calculated to sound both urgent and controlled. If these files leave Verath jurisdiction, the damage to galactic stability will be incalculable. One counselor, a scaled reptilian from the Dravic Dominion, flicked her tongue in irritation. All this, over one human? Not just any human, Zorath said smoothly. Commander Miles is a trained intelligence officer. And humans are prone to myth-making. If she broadcasts what she believes she's found, the lesser species will see them as something more than they are. That is dangerous. Another counselor leaned forward. And what do you propose? A containment fleet, Zora said, feigning reluctance. Small, precise. We intercept her before she leaves Verath space. No harm need come to her, if she cooperates. Privately, he had no intention of letting her cooperate. The shuttle dropped into the shadow of a derelict or hauler drifting along the system's edge. Elara cut main power, letting them drift cold. All right, she said. Explain the first Silence War. Rin's antennae twitched as he worked. 10,000 years ago, before the Concord, before most of the current species even walked upright, something swept through the stars, wiping out entire civilizations. We don't even have a name for it now. The records call it the Silence. But there are hints. The thing that ended it wasn't a fleet, or a weapon any of us recognize. It was a protocol, activated from the 7 Keystone Vaults. And the DNA key to trigger it belonged to early humans. Elara tried to wrap her head around it. So why erase all trace of that? Because, Rin said, locking eyes with her, if the galaxy remembered humans could do that once, they might wonder if you could do it again. Her implant pulsed, a secure ping from her own military network. It wasn't often Earth reached out directly. She opened it with a thought. Priority alert, Commander Miles. Concord forces mobilizing under Verath request. Standing orders, evade capture. Recover all data linked to Operation Keystone. Authorization Black Echo. Her jaw tightened. If Black Echo was active, it meant Earth already suspected the truth, and they wanted her to get to the bottom of it before Zorath did. She leaned back. Rin, you're going to show me how to fully unlock that file. He hesitated. Once you see the full map, there's no turning back. It will put you in the center of a war you can't yet see. I think, she said, powering up the shuttle again. We're already there. On Verath Prime, Zoratha's private aide approached him as the council session closed. She's gone to ground, the aide reported. Zoratha's gaze drifted toward the hollow display of the human homeworld, Sol system marked in soft blue. Then flush her out. Send the intercept fleet toward Earth. She will run there. Backwater creatures always retreat to their nest when hunted. A faint, cold smile crossed his lips. When she does, I will be waiting. The trip to Earth was a gauntlet. Elara threaded the shuttle through 3 unregistered jump corridors, skirting the gravity wells of collapsed stars and the fringes of pirate territory. Every jump carried the risk of popping up inside a Verath interdiction field. Every hour brought a new report on the Concord's encrypted news feeds. Containment fleet mobilized for security breach, human officer suspected in data theft, Council assures no threat to galactic peace. In other words, Zorath had made her the villain. Rin sat hunched over the NAV console, his mandibles grinding softly as he kept their signature masked. They've seeded false pings of your shuttle in half a dozen sectors. Smart. It'll force us to burn time dodging ghosts while their fleet goes for the real target. Earth, Elara said flatly. Earth, Rin confirmed. When they dropped out of the last blind jump, Sol filled the viewport like an old friend. The blue-green marble of Earth rotated serenely in the black, its continents swirled with cloud. It looked small, fragile, and utterly unaware that an armada was on its way. Antarctica, Rin said, sliding a data spike into the console. The star map projected above them, aligning with Earth's geography. The southern pole. Your keystone marker is buried nearly 4 kilometers beneath the Ross ice shelf. Elara set the shuttle's vector. And what exactly am I going to find down there? If the vault's intact? Rin's tone was grim. Everything Zorath is afraid of. The storm over the southern continent was a white, howling wall. The shuttle's sensors painted the ice below in pale contours, the vault's coordinates locked in like a beacon. Elara brought them down on manual, feeling the hull shudder under crosswinds. We'll have to cut through the ice, she said. Rin shook his head. Vaults are keyed to genetic recognition. If you're the match, it will open for you. She gave him a look. That's comforting. The fissure yawned before them like a throat of blue glass. Elara descended carefully, boots crunching on ancient ice. Her breath fogged in the visor as she reached a sheer wall, its surface marbled with darker veins. Rin stayed back. Touch it, he said. She hesitated, then pressed a gloved palm to the ice. A low vibration thrummed through the ground. Faint lines of light spread from her hand, racing outward in intricate patterns, melting the ice in perfect hexagonal panels. The air smelled faintly of ozone. The ice wall slid away, revealing a black archway, its edges etched with symbols she recognized from the map. Elara stepped inside. The vault's interior was impossibly intact, smooth metallic walls, no frost, no dust. The air was breathable, warm. At the center stood a column of light, its base studded with crystalline nodes. Her implant buzzed, unbidden, and the column responded, hollow screens flaring to life in cascading languages, most unfamiliar, but some distinctly human. One flashed in English. Genetic key confirmed. Protocol access partial. Awaiting secondary activation. A rush of images filled her mind, star systems burning, vast fleets collapsing into silence, 7 vaults flaring in unison. And then, darkness. She staggered back. It's a memory. Not just a memory, Rin said softly. A weapon. Before she could ask more, the ground trembled. Dull booms echoed from above. Rin's head snapped toward the vault entrance. They're here. Above the ice shelf, the Varath fleet descended in precision formation, sleek warships like obsidian spears, their engines casting cold blue light over the snow. At their head, Zoratha's personal cruiser cut through the storm. On his bridge, Zorath studied the surface feed. There, he said, pointing at the glowing fissure. Send in the retrieval teams. And tell them, bring her to me alive. His lips curved faintly. For now. The vault doors began to seal. Elara's eyes locked with Rin's. Can we take any of this with us? Not in bulk, he said, his claws flying over the crystalline nodes. But I can copy the chronicle headers, proof it exists. The sealing hum grew louder. She yanked her sidearm free. Then make it fast. We're not going to get a second chance. The vault doors' closing rings reverberated like a countdown to disaster. Elara planted herself between Rin and the narrowing gap, sidearm steady, eyes sweeping the darkness beyond. The whine of Varath gravpacks echoed through the fissure, scouts dropping in fast. 2 minutes, Rin hissed without looking up. His claws danced across the crystalline nodes, each touch making the light column shiver and flare. I'm bypassing a 10,000-year lock. Try not to let us die before then. Working on it, she muttered. A shadow flickered in the gap. Elara fired once, precise, center mass. The Varath scout toppled, armor clattering against the ice, his energy rifle skittering into the vault. She kicked it out of reach and ducked as another shot cracked against the doorway. 30 seconds, Rin warned. The second scout surged through, his blade humming with lethal intent. Elara sidestepped, caught his arm, and drove her pistol barrel under his chin. The discharge lit the vault in a brief, brutal flash. Then a much deeper hum filled the chamber. The light column pulsed like a heartbeat. Rin turned, clutching a data spike. Got it. But Elara, something else unlocked when I hit the override. Before she could ask, the column flared, projecting a vast hollow map overhead. Dozens of star systems glittered in three-dimensional clarity, each tagged with human script. Some had been long-lost names from ancient Earth cultures: Aegis, Hyperion, Thalassa. But at the center, Sol. A voice, female, calm, impossibly human, spoke from nowhere. Command authority recognized. Initiating recompile protocol. The map rippled outward. Every mark system lit with the same pulsing glow. Rin's voice was a whisper. You're waking the network. The tremors intensified. The ceiling door halted halfway, then jerked back open. A tall silhouette stepped inside, flanked by 4 armored Varath. Zorith. He removed his helmet slowly, his pale eyes fixed on Elara. Commander Miles, he said, voice smooth as glass. I have been waiting for this moment. She kept the pistol trained on him. Step away from the interface. You think you understand what you've touched, he said, taking another step forward. But you are playing with a weapon designed to end civilizations. The Concord was built to keep such things buried. Elara's jaw tightened. The Concord was built to keep humans in the dirt. Zoritha's lips curved faintly. And you think unleashing this, recompile, will change that? It will only make the galaxy unite to destroy you. Maybe, she said. Or maybe they'll remember we're not the backwater you think we are. His hand flicked in a sharp gesture. The Varath soldiers raised their weapons. Rin shouted, Now! The column's light exploded outward, enveloping the chamber in a lattice of symbols and coordinates. The data spike in Rin's hand glowed like a live ember. A cascade of encrypted transmissions burst from the vault, bouncing off hidden relay points buried across the galaxy. Zorith lunged forward. Too late. The voice spoke again. Protocol update transmitted. Awaiting confirmation from remaining vaults. The Varath opened fire. Elara dove behind the column, returning shots in short, brutal bursts. Rin slammed his palm on a crystal node, and the vault's defensive systems came alive, shimmering walls of energy deflecting incoming bolts. Zorith retreated a step, eyes blazing. You have no idea what you've done. Elara rose from cover, the pistol steady. I've started rewriting history. They locked eyes for a heartbeat. Then Zorith signaled his men to fall back. This isn't over, he said, retreating toward the fissure. You've lit a beacon, Commander. And the galaxy will come for you. As his forces vanished into the storm, Elara turned to Rin. How bad is it? He looked at the glowing spike, then at her. We just told every hidden vault in the network that the human key is active again. If the others respond... He trailed off. What? She pressed. His mandibles clicked once. Then the galaxy won't be able to stop what comes next. Outside, above the ice, Zoritha's fleet was already breaking formation, half in pursuit of the human shuttle, half vectoring toward deep space. Far beyond, in forgotten star systems, lights began to flare on worlds that had slept for 10 millennia. The shuttle punched through the Antarctic storm and clawed for orbit, its engines screaming against the gravity well. The ice and cloud fell away, replaced by the deep velvet of space, and the cold geometry of Zoritha's fleet, waiting like a steel noose around Earth. They're closing the ring, Rin said, eyes darting over the sensor readouts. We've got maybe 30 seconds before they lock us in. Elara's hands tightened on the controls. Then we break the ring. She shoved the throttle forward. The shuttle surged toward the smallest gap between 2 Varath destroyers, their weapons swiveling to track. Warning shots in 5, 4, Rin began. But the warning shots never came. Instead, the destroyers' running lights flickered. The neat formation dissolved into chaos, ships veering off course, weapons going cold. Rin? His claws danced over the console. Not me. This is coming from the network you woke. He looked up, astonished. It's overriding their combat protocols. On the tactical display, a half-dozen human-coded pings appeared where there should have been nothing, ancient stealth satellites, cloaked in dead orbit, suddenly roaring to life. They began transmitting. Zoratha's voice crackled over the wideband, tight with fury. Miles! Shut it down before you doom us all! Elara keyed the comm. Not this time. She cut the link and threaded the shuttle through the opening. Behind them, two Veras ships clipped each other's shields and spun apart. Earth grew larger in the viewport. Not just home, now the center of something vast. By the time they hit low orbit, the effects were global. Civilian networks lit up with unfamiliar star maps, projected into every home, every city square. Languages long dead scrolled alongside coordinates to other vault worlds. The Chronicle wasn't just talking to ships, it was talking to humanity. In Sydney, New York, Lagos, Mumbai, people looked up at the night sky and saw new constellations drawn for them, glowing faintly in the dark. The message was simple: we were here before. We will be here again. On the Concord Council's capital world, news feeds spun into panic. Analysts demanded containment. Fleets scrambled to intercept. But for every movement against Earth, two more species sent cautious inquiries. Some remembered humans from the last age of the vaults. Some had debts unpaid. The galaxy was listening again. In orbit, Rin watched the chaos unfold on his feed. They won't wait long before sending a suppression fleet. They won't have time, Elara said. She turned the data spike over in her palm. The vaults are listening. If even one of them sends what's in their chronicle. Rin nodded slowly. History won't just be rewritten, it'll be undeniable. A new voice came through the shuttle's calm and human, like the one in the vault. Secondary vault activation confirmed. Awaiting further commands, command authority. Elara met Rin's gaze. We give them one, she said. We tell them to wake up. In deep space, on worlds the Concord had forgotten, vault doors slid open for the first time in 10,000 years. Towers of light rose into alien skies. Old ships lifted from hidden hangars. And everywhere, the same message broadcast in 100 tongues. Humanity has returned. Zorath watched from the bridge of his retreating cruiser, the Chronicle's network lighting up his tactical maps like wildfire. He knew then that the war was no longer about one vault, or one woman. It was about the galaxy's oldest player stepping back onto the board. And there was no going back.